Alicia,
Okay. Yep. All good.
we've got our very first question. We were in the
Okay.
process of discussing it. How old are all of the characters? Because we get like different impressions. And why is 50-year-old and oh my God, what's
Aunt.
her name? Cat?
Oh, I
Well,
don't
but
know.
the aunt's name, why is 50-year-old aunt made out as if she's a decrepit old lady?
That's just how I pictured her in my head. But when I started, kind of mathematically, and that's not my best area, figuring out how old Riley's parents were, and since the aunt is Riley's father's sister, it came out to be about 50. But in my head, I just pictured her as older. So that's how that happened.
Yeah,
And
and and
how
and
old
and in the
is
book, that's it. That's what I was just saying. She says she was only 50, but I was thinking she was much older. I was like, wait a minute, she's only 50. She's still, yeah, yeah. How old was Riley?
Um, if you figure out the math from when they were in high school, this is about 10 years later. So
So
she's
she's
about
late 20s
28.
or yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
and how old's Judge Bookings and Dr. Ross?
Um, I I picture them in my head as mid to late 30s, but I don't think it's ever stated or, planned out, but that's just in my head, late 30s.
Well, perhaps you're going to have to plan it out because we've already decided that you need to do a Judge Bookings and Dr. Ross sequel.
Doctors, I kind of thought it might be interesting to do one with Dr. Ross and the judge.
Two birds, one Sapphic stone. Nailed it.
Two ice queens.
Oh, that would be interesting.
Hmm.
Okay, we're already here for it. Just take our money.
Hmm.
We can do that.
Jamie, do you have any
Yeah, so
questions?
I do. It's actually what Melina was talking about, and I had the same question and actually mentioned it to you. How does your former job inform and influence and inspire your stories? And adding on to that, were there any of your characters that you did you get chased by anybody? Was there any of your characters that you had worked with in the past that influenced the story?
I assume when you say my former job, you meant as a probation officer,
Yeah.
because I've done other things. I was a school bus driver, a preschool teacher, so as a probation officer, um, it's really funny because when I was going through the program at UC San Diego, the students there said, "Oh, you're going to have so much material to write crime stories," and it's like, "No, I don't want to watch. I don't want to write that. I want to write romance." What do I end up writing? Um, so yeah, a lot of influence from from that job. I have been chased. I have chased. Um, the 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 worst one was and it happened twice, being chased by a pit bull twice.
Ooh.
I actually did have to pull my gun on them, on both of them. Luckily, I did not shoot them. The people came out and called their dogs off. I was also chased by a chihuahua onto the top of a car once. Um, so I would say those are probably the funniest chase type of situations. I've also, when I worked in with the school district, I was literally chasing truants through dry creek beds, trying to catch them and make them go to school. So yeah, there's been several chases as a probation officer. But yeah, that gave me a lot of material. Still things that I could use in another book.
What did just was off camera. Okay.
I had problems with technology again.
Okay. So I'm gonna go back. Hang on, I'm scrolling. Another one from Alina is what is your writing process?
Oh, Mila, geez. I wish I could say that I plotted things out, um, but I pants most of it, I think. Maybe I'm kind of a little of both. um, a little, write down a little bit, but I tend to think everything out in my head before I even write. So I have almost the whole story figured out in my head um, before I start putting it on paper. And that really, really slows you down. If you're trying to make everything perfect in your head before you even start writing words, it I wish I could just start typing and do it that way, but I can't. My brain makes me think it out in my head first. So I guess that's my process. I think about it a heck of a lot and then start writing it down.
More of a pantster. A little bit of planner with the thinking about it, but more of a pantster when you start going for it.
Yeah. But it's
I've
all
got a,
it's all in my brain. So
sorry.
Mhm.
I've got a question here from Lana P. It's related. What motivates you to sit your ass down in a chair and write?
a
2 points.
deadline, a deadline. I am very deadline oriented, and it goes back to being a probation officer, writing crime reports and sentencing reports. And because if you don't have your report turned in within the legal timeline, they release those people from jail. And so if you've booked in a child molester, a rapist, a whatever, if you don't have your report written and turned in to the district attorney's office, they let those people go because legally there are time requirements and you have to meet them. So I'm very focused on deadlines. Like I have a deadline coming up June 1st. And so my butt has been in the chair a lot the past couple weeks because I procrastinated until like I know I have to get this done. And my wife even has started taking my phone away to make me focus on writing. So deadlines, that's my motivator.
And on the heels of that, how long does it take you usually to write your books?
You know, the first two books, Castaway Island and this one, I did the first draft in NaNoWriMo. So 30 days, I had 50,000 words done. And then it took me 6 months until I had revised it to where I wanted it before I pitched it to Bella Books. But yeah, NaNoWriMo works for me because you kind of have a deadline every day of how many words you have to do. This one that I'm working on now, I did not start in NaNoWriMo, and it's taking me forever. It's taken me over a year to get this one written. So deadlines. That's
Mhm.
what I need.
Deadlines.
You need to
Um,
be chased.
Preferably not from an arsonist or someone who wants you dead.
Yeah. Or a
Let's
dog.
see.
I've got a question here from Jodelle, who can't join us today. She said, is there a particular genre you'd like to explore in the future? And her wife said, there are a lot of names with double letters, Riley Reynolds, Max Maynard, Anthony Anderson. Why did you do that? Gives us Agatha Christie vibes. So
I
I
am a huge
promised I'd
I
ask.
I am a huge Agatha Christie fan. So that's not, it wasn't intentional because of Agatha Christie, but maybe in the back of my mind, that's where it came from. But I really like that. I like doing the same first initial. I just think it just rolls off the tongue. So I try to do that I think even in the first book, I think there's some like that. And what was the first part of the question?
Um, Jodel's question was that if you were to do another particular genre, what would you like to explore in the future?
Oh, um, I actually have a half-written historical fiction book. It's not Sapphic. It's based on my great-great-grandparents who came over from Ireland in the 1800s, fictionalized version of it. So I would really like to write historical fiction, but I'm the kind of person that I get lost in research and I go down a rabbit hole and I don't come out for hours. So I set it aside because I wanted to get some other stuff done. My wife is constantly after me to finish that book. Um, so I would like to write a sapphic historical fiction. I love um, sci-fi, but I don't think I couldn't make up that kind of stuff. Um, but I would like to do a historical fiction.
Set in a specific era?
Um, that's a really good question. Uh, I am really a huge Ireland fan, so I would probably set it in Ireland, maybe during the 1920-ish when they really fought for their independence. That might be kind of an interesting time period to explore.
That'd be epic.
Mhm.
It would take a heck of a long time to write.
Yeah. I have a question from Sharon Angelisi. Randolph the goldfish. Why did you make this choice, and did you ever consider offing him? I can't be the only one who worried about Randolph every time he was mentioned. We had just had a big talk about Randolph in the book club, so
Oh. Um, uh, I don't know if you all know Frankie Fry, and her first book had an emu, a baby
yeah.
emu in it. We were in the writing academy together, and so we had discussions about how great it is for everybody to have a pet in their books, and what kind of pet could you have that would kind of would be outside like the normal pet. So another favorite author of mine is Janet Ivanovich, and in her books, Stephanie Plum has a hamster. So it doesn't take a lot of care. It doesn't require a lot other. It's happy as long as you feed it. And I thought, a goldfish is kind of the same way. You don't have to do much with them. You don't have to take them for a walk. You just have to make sure you feed them. So that's kind of why I came up with the goldfish. It was something that she could take care of. And maybe if she could keep Randolph alive, she might be able to keep a relationship alive. So um, for me, it was kind of Riley telling herself, if I can do this, maybe I could have a relationship, keep it alive. But that's why a goldfish. It doesn't require a lot of care, but it does take enough care to keep them alive.
And did you ever think about offing him?
Oh no, never, never. Because like every writing class I've ever taken, it's don't kill the animals. The readers hate killing animals. So no, I didn't
Yeah.
want readers to hate me.
Mhm.
Good.
I've got a question from Mila. What is the most challenging part of writing for you?
Sitting my butt in the chair and making myself do it. And it's going so much better since my wife started taking my phone away. Um, I get a lot more done. Um, yeah, that's for me, once I'm in the zone, I'm sitting down, focused on it, I do really well. It's just making myself get in the chair because I'm a reader. I love to read. I'll read 120 books a year. So sometimes I would rather just sit down and read somebody else's book than work on my own. So I get distracted by reading a lot.
And then our follow-up question is, what is the part of writing you love the most?
Finishing it.
Good answer.
Finishing it. I also I love research. My background is in criminology, and we write a lot of research papers in social sciences. So research is something that I love to do. So I love that part of it. Even in fiction aside from historical. You still do research. I was writing about a fire. Well, I did research on a fire. If somebody ever checks my history on my computer, they're going to wonder, why am I so obsessed with fire? And then locations, I map out to make sure that all of my real locations are really where I say they are. Um, so I like the research part of it too.
I have another one, Jesse. Okay.
I've got a few that's come through. Kaz has sent one through saying that even though Randolph is proof that Riley can love and take care of things, why was she so reluctant and stubborn to accept Tate's love and to return it, the declaration, return the declaration? Sorry,
I
my
think
brain
that's
fully farted.
a two-part answer. The first one was because of what happened in high school, that they had the big kiss in the locker room, and then Tate basically ghosts her, and that really hurt, and therefore made her very reluctant to give Tate a chance to do that again. And then the other thing was what happened with her ex-girlfriend in college, who she walked in on, with somebody else. And she didn't, doesn't want to take a chance on letting somebody else hurt her like that again.
Mhm.
Unfortunately for Tate, but um, and that brings me back to the other part about another book. In one review, somebody said something about, why bring up this character, when she doesn't really have anything to do with the storyline. If I do a second book, then that X will have a bigger part.
Okay. I have a question from Lana P. What made you choose first voice?
I just really like it. I think it lends itself well to when you're trying to inject some humor into things. I don't know if I could have written this book in third person, because I don't know that I could have gotten the humor across as well. And that's what I really wanted to come across, was that this was going to be fun and maybe make people laugh a little bit. Um, and I think first person really lends itself well to that. Um, but like my first book wasn't in first person, but it was more serious. It was
Mhm.
darker, and third person worked well for that. I don't think that would not have worked as well in first person. So
Mhm.
for me, this particular book, it was about the humor, wanting that to come across.
Mhm.
We actually
What?
discussed that.
Whoops, sorry.
Sorry. We
That's okay.
actually discussed the balance of humor and
Mhm.
intensity in the book club discussion. How did you find balance in that? Because Cass said she'd be hiding under a bed if someone was chasing her. So how did you how did you balance it?
Well, there's a thing for I think most people who work in the law enforcement kind of area, is you have to find the humor in things. Otherwise, all of the crap will just wear you down. And so when I was working in the field, myself and my fellow officers were always trying to to find humor, to just so we didn't have to be focused on the bad stuff that was happening all the time, the bad stuff that our clients, our probationers were doing all the time. Um, so I think I took a lot of that, wanting to take some of that from my actual work and put it into the story. Just because you have to try to keep things light, or it just gets too dark.
Jamie?
Yeah, I've got a few. So one of them is, what is your connection to San Luis Obispo?
My connection is I live in San Luis Obispo County, or we call it SLO here. I think that's what I refer to it in the
Hmm.
book. So I don't live in SLO. I live outside of SLO in a little town. It's only 10,000 people, called Morro Bay. And My next book is set in Morro Bay. Um, and one of the characters from this book will appear in that book. It's not humorous though. That one is a return to hometown romance. But yeah, so I live here. This is where my wife and I vacationed for years before we moved here. So I just really like the California Central Coast, and I thought it would be a good place to set this book, as opposed to where I actually worked in the Central Valley, which is a really kind of crappy place to live in California. Um, so I didn't want to set it where where things actually happen. But it's a great place to live. So that's why I put it here.
Mhm. And one of the things we also discussed in book club that we were talking about and curious about is that you mentioned a few different authors, Kat Jackson, Karen Callmaker. Um, why did you choose to do that, and what made you choose those specific authors?
I'm with Bella Books, and my I thought, well, so I'm gonna do a shout out to other Bella Book authors, but then Lynette Beers was my mentor in the Writing Academy, and she totally edited this whole book before I actually sent it in to Bella for their final approval. So I felt like I really owed Lynette a shout out. So I used her too.
I really enjoyed that. Whenever I read that in books, it makes me smile when you
It'll
shout out
happen in
other
the
authors.
next one
Yeah.
too. It's
Oh, cool. Cool. Jess, you got another one?
Yeah, I've got a few.
I did too.
Will this book be made into an audiobook? Can we expect it?
um maybe I have no control over that. Obviously, Bella does. Um, but I know the next one might be, and if it does well, then they might go back and do the other ones. So
Cool.
maybe depends
Cool.
on what happens with the next one.
Cool.
Jamie, do
And
you have any?
yeah, and what this question came from Jade. What authors do you like to read? What books do you like to read?
Oh my gosh. I would like to say that I read a lot of historical fiction and science fiction because I love those genres. But I also don't like to read really long books, and most of those are really long books. So I end up reading a lot of romance. I love Mila. I am a huge fan. I am a huge fan of Elena Ardell, Rita Potter. Kat Jackson. Gosh, I hate to even mention them because I know I'll forget. I'll not name somebody that I
Mm.
really like, but um, those people. Um, oh, Jen Lyon. I mean, she's brilliant, um, and she's a great person. Like as all of these people are great people. I'm friends with all of those people, and I admire them so much. Um, right now, I am reading. Um, oh, I just started Patricia Evans' new book, Trust Fall, and it's set in Ireland, so I'm just super excited about it because I love Ireland.
Um, this is the
I've
second
got
part
a
of
couple.
oh, you want to go ahead? Okay.
Yeah. Um, so if you had a choice, would you have Murder, Mayhem, and Sex on the Beach turned into a movie or a TV show? And who would you have play your leads? Plus Dr. Ross and Judge Booking because they give us life.
Okay, I've actually thought about this. I would love to have it a movie, um, and I picture Kristen Stewart as Riley, and if you know Mackenzie Davis as Tate, she was in one of the oh, what's it called? The one with Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Terminator. She was in one of the
Mm.
Terminator movies, where she and Linda Hamilton, were out to save the world. Um, so those would be my two main characters. Um, Dr. Ross, if you've watched The Rookie on TV, there's a woman that has red hair and she's a bad guy, but that's who I picture as Dr. Ross. I can't think of what her name is. Um, and the judge, maybe what's her name from Rizzoli Isles? Does anybody remember her name? With the long dark hair.
I can see her in my mind, but I'm not
Yeah.
remembering her name.
Anyway, that's who I might picture as the judge.
I'm gonna Google
Oh,
it because I can't
Mila
think
said
of
Angie something. Yeah,
Yeah,
Angie something.
Angie Harmon.
There we go. Igniting the brain.
it.
Kaz was asking, what is a genre you would never write and why?
Oh, horror. I'm not I read horror if a friend has written it. Um, but I'm not, and Jamie and I talked about this last night. I don't like scary books. I don't read about serial killers. Um, it's just not something that it keeps me up at night. I don't like to be scared like that. So it's something I'll never write. I rarely read it. I read a little bit of fantasy especially if I know the author. Um, I do like fantasy that involves stuff that happens in Ireland, like fairies and those kind of things that are bad guys. Um, but yeah, horror, serial killers, not my thing.
So funny. And last night at your house, I went to bed listening to a thriller, thriller book to get sleepy. So
God.
And I guess it didn't keep you up.
no, no, yeah.
Mm.
Well, and you bring the thriller components into your book. So that's what we were talking about, is how you balance it with humor. So it doesn't
Oh,
you don't feel the intensity of it. I mean, she's got somebody after her trying to kill her, and they're the arsonists, lighting the fires, and the judge and the aunt almost get killed. And so there's some thriller, suspenseful stuff, but you blend it with the humor. And I think another question I asked you last night was, what came to me with this book was, wow, somebody must have said something to Alicia, because this book's pretty spicy compared to Murder on Castaway Island. So what's up with that? How did that get going? Who whispered in your ear, if
oh,
anybody?
that's a good question that I don't know that I have an answer for. Um, I think I wanted to prove to myself that I could write a sex scene. And once I wrote one, why not write another one? Um, and it just seemed like Tate and Riley would be those kind of people, that would be, jumping into bed at every chance they got. Um, and I have to say, Mila inspires me. Her books are filled with sex. Um, and, I thought Mila can do it, I can do it. Um, I was so worried though when I was writing this that my mother would read it. Um, and she actually had ordered it and I made her cancel the order. I don't want my mom to read this book. So
I know you've been kind of surprised at the posts that we've been putting out with the quotes from your book. You're like,
I know
did I write
it's
that?
like,
My mind,
did I
yes, yes,
write
you
that?
did. Yep, you wrote that too. Too funny.
It's really funny
Um,
when like I haven't read that book in a year, and then to look back, it's like, oh, I forgot about that. I forgot about that.
So you've liked to relive it through the quotes.
Yeah, that has really been fun. It makes me laugh because I forgot about that I had written some of those things.
Kaz is
I've got a couple
saying,
more questions,
oh,
Jamie.
okay. You don't want, okay, go ahead. Hold on, Kaz.
Oh, okay, go ahead. Go, go, go.
Uh, she was just saying, and you were chased for a living. You don't seem like a scaredy cat.
Um, I I was scared a lot as a probation officer, and the whole thing, fake it till you make it, that was me as a probation officer. It was really funny when I first got hired, I was 28 years old. I grew up middle class, sheltered. I had no clue what the real world was like. And they hand me a badge, handcuffs, and then they give me a gun. And I'm like, are, are you sure that this is what you want to give me a gun? I had never shot a gun in my life. Turns out that I'm pretty good at shooting guns, though. Um, it was just mind-blowing to be 28 years old and be given this responsibility. For a long time, I kept thinking that they were going to realize they made a mistake and take it all away from me. Because what 20-year-old needs to have handcuffs and a gun and be allowed to arrest people and take them to jail? It was just mind-blowing to me.
Mm.
I don't, did that answer
Wow.
the question?
Yeah,
I kind of forgot what the
yeah,
question was.
yeah. She was just saying, you were
It
chased for a living. You don't
actually,
seem
Oh,
like a scaredy
yeah.
cat. Yeah.
And I honestly, every time I had to do a home call, and most of the time I was doing them by myself. I'm only
Mm.
5'1". I'm not a large, person. And I was going to people's houses who were really bad people. Um, so yeah, I was scared, but I faked it that I was tough. But yeah, inside I was not tough.
so you didn't have your Robin or your Patty, like, because in the book, Riley has the fabulous gay Robin and Patty, who I don't know, like that's how I would say it, Patty.
Patty, yeah.
Who
Um, I
like, do you not have one?
Yeah, I did team up with other officers on certain things, especially if I was going out at night. We didn't go out at night alone, and we were required to work nights, one night a week. Um, so yeah, I didn't go out alone at night. I went with somebody. But during the day, if I knew I was going to be arresting somebody, always took somebody with me. Um, but if just to do regular house calls, most of the time I was on my own.
Whoa. That again leads on to another
Oh,
question that
your sound just
I've
went out, Jess.
got. Hello? Am I back? Cool.
Yeah, I can hear
Um,
you, see you.
good. I've got a question here. So, in your experience, did you ever find any dead people like Riley did? That's from
No, I didn't find any dead people. A dead dog once. Um, but no dead people. Thank heaven. I also never had anybody leave a bomb
and
on my front door. No,
cool.
no bombs. No.
I've also got a question here from Kaz. Have you ever seen anyone get grazed with a bullet?
Not in the field. So not intentionally, but on the range, because we had to qualify every month. And on the range by accident, yeah, I saw somebody get grazed by a bullet because somebody was being negligent. Um, really lucky that it wasn't worse than it was because in our neighboring county, there was an officer who was shot on the range by accident. Um, so it does happen accidentally, but no, not actually out in the field.
Blimey. I'm mindful of the time. Are you okay to answer two more questions for
Sure,
time?
sure.
Um, if you guys, because it's now 7 o'clock, if you guys can't stay, feel free to go. And this recording will be put on YouTube. So, second to last question, Alicia. Um, if you were stranded on a desert island with any one of your characters, who would you choose and why?
I would definitely choose Tate, um, because I don't, if you know who Mackenzie Davis is, she not the version in the Christmas movie they made, but the version from the Terminator movie. That would be who you'd want to be stranded with.
Badass.
Definitely. Jamie,
Uh-huh.
what's your last question?
Just if you want to talk a little bit about your upcoming book and what's next for you, and also caveat, is there going to be a sequel to this with Riley and Tate's future, what it holds?
Well, to that, when I wrote it, I had no plans to do a sequel. But because I've gotten so much feedback that people want a sequel, I actually have written a scene or two. Um, so yeah, there'll be a sequel, but I have the current book I'm working on and then one other book, and so it'll have to wait until till those are finished. My next book is called Return to Morro Harbor, set here in Morro Bay. I changed the name so that I could take some liberties with locate some businesses and things. It is a return to hometown, second chance romance, deals with guilt and grief and forgiveness, of self and others. So it's not funny. It's
Mm.
it deals with some tough issues that I hope I can pull off. Haven't written anything like that before, so I'm working on it.
Cool.
It's due to the publisher June 1st, so and it comes out in November.
Cool.
Blimey.
It's actually
I've
already on Amazon for pre-order, and I haven't even finished it yet.
got to get it in.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's it.
What,
I'm
did you want to give away a book?
Oh,
if you
that would be
want.
awesome. Yeah, we
Yeah, I have books to give away
Should we do
we
that
want to
on the YouTube?
Okay.
on you. Sure.
Yeah.
you want to do it on the
Kaz,
YouTube?
we will. I don't know. Caroline, help.
We'll think of something in the YouTube. I think it's gonna be like I want Alicia Gail's book. Something like that, and then email it to sapphic@gmail.com. If you're the third email, then it's yours. Okay, good. Anything else you want us to know? Want to tell us where we can find you on social media?
My web page is www.aliciagail.com. All my books or my two books are available there if you want signed copies. I'm also on Facebook at Alicia Gail Writes, on Instagram, Alicia Gail _ Writes. I'm on Blue Sky. I think it's just Alicia Gail Blue Sky Social. Um, I'm most active on Facebook. It's just easier. Um, I guess, and I'll shout out to my wife who's hiding out there. She makes it all possible. She is so encouraging that I have to give her a thank you.
Oh, that's a cute. That's cute. That's a cute way. It's heartwarming. Well, thank you very much for your time and for answering all our burning questions. We hope you had fun.
I did. This was great. Thanks.
Cool.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for
Thank
joining
you.
Thank
us.
you so
And
much.
for everyone still here or on the YouTube, on April 26th, it will be our next book club, and that will be about Flowers and Gemstones by Elena Erdell. So
Great book.
if you haven't yet, you can have more than a month to read it and then join us then. So April 26th, Elena Erdell, Flowers and Gemstones. Thank you very much, everyone, and we'll
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
see you later. Bye, Alicia.
Bye.